Hello students, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Good morning to all of you. And today is the third video. Okay, so I hope that you have seen all the last two videos are regarding this chapter. If you haven't seen, go and watch and then come to this video. Then only you will understand. Okay, so today we will start with the lecture number 3. And lecture number 3 is about what? What is a calorimeter? But before I start, I just want to say one thing. This is one kavita I happened to hear today, and I thought about sharing with you. It's in Hindi, but I hope you like it. It's like this. असफलता एक चुनौती है जिसको स्वीकार करो तुम. असफलता एक चुनौती है जिसको स्वीकार करो तुम. क्या कमी रह गई है देखो और सुधार करो. जब तक न सफल हो नींद चैन को त्यागो तुम. जब तक न सफल हो नींद चैन को त्यागो तुम. संघर्ष का मैदान छोड़ के मत भागो तुम. कुछ किए बिना ही जय जयकार नहीं होती और कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. A very inspirational quote. I hope you happen to understand the meaning of it. And I've said this quote because what I feel is that sometimes in life you happen to get a lot of failures, but as a teacher, it is my duty, responsibility also to motivate you at those situations. That just want to tell you, the character of a person doesn't depends on success or failure. It depends how you take the success or how you take that failure. In during failure also we have to keep the life moving. Okay, in success also we have to keep the life moving. So after the failure we have to see that what were the things that went wrong and take lessons from that, and we have to keep going forward in life and make sure that we don't make the mistake this time. Okay, so in your life it will help you. So let's start with today's video. Now we have to start the video. We have to start with the topic calorie meter. Now see, the chapter is calorimetry, but today we'll study calorimeter. Okay, calorimetry chapter name, and today topic is calorimeter. So calorimeter is what? It is a device. It's basically a device used to measure the amount of heat that we are transferring from one body to another body. The amount of heat does a body is gaining, or the amount of body the body is losing. So that amount of heat that is transferring, going or coming, we have to measure, and that measurement is done by a device known as calorimeter. Is similar to thermometer. What is thermometer? A device used to measure temperature. Calorimeter, a device used to measure heat. Okay, a device used to measure heat, calorimeter. A device used to measure temperature, thermometer. So a device used to measure the amount of heat lost or gained by a body. So calorimeter is a device used to measure the amount of heat gained or lost by a body. You understood? Now, since you haven't seen a calorimeter till now, so it will be something new to you. But talking about thermometer, most of you have seen a thermometer. So in class 6 or class 7, when you were made the diagram of thermometer, you understand it very quickly because you have seen that previously. All of us have seen thermometer. When we had fever, we used to take a thermometer to measure our temperature of the body. But calorimeter is not much seen in our day-to-day life. So that is why it becomes something very which many of you are unaware of. Okay, unseen, unaware. So let's solve the mystery of who is this calorimeter, what is this function, what is this his function, how this calorimeter is made up of. So a device used to measure the amount of heat gained or lost by a body is known as calorimeter. Now, you know, now suppose firstly the one thing, okay, if there is a in this body there is a hot body, there is a hot water. Suppose there is a hot water. This is the hot body, and over there, this is the cold water. Now suppose consider hot water is coming and going to the flowing to the cold water. So think the heat from the hot water, the heat from the hot body will be going to the cold body. So hot body is losing heat and cold body is gaining heat. Okay, so hot body, what does the hot body does? A hot body happens to, there's a loss of heat in the hot body. And if we talk about the cold body does what? There is a gain of heat. So hot body, there is a loss of heat, and a cold body happens to gain a heat. Now if hot body loses 500 joule of heat, then we consider that the hot body loses 500 joule of heat, so the cold body gains 500 joule of heat. And this is a assumption. And this assumption is made when we consider that there is no heat lost to the surrounding, means no heat is going away. All the heat from this hot body, so this hot body has a heat of 500 joule, and when it goes, the cold body gets that 500 joule. So we assume there is no heat going in the sideways. So no heat is lost to the surrounding. So we assume, that is the assumption, no heat lost to the surrounding. So this is the law of calorimetry, like a principle of calorimetry, but that we will deal with this part a little later. Let's focus on what we have now. If the hot body is giving all the heat to the cold body, who is also absorbing heat, means this is the first person and cold body is the second person. A first person is giving 500 rupees. Consider a hot body is giving 500 rupees to the cold person, and cold body, as a hot body is giving and the cold body is receiving. But along with this first body and the second body, there is a third body who is also playing a major role in this whole transaction of heat. And you know who is that body, who is the third body? The third body, what I'm talking about here, is the container in which the hot body is going. Think, the cold body will be absorbing heat, but don't you think this container is also going to absorb some amount of heat? This container is made up of some metal, and we know most metals are good conductor of heat. So along with the cold water is gaining the heat, there is also a situation that the metallic body, the container, will be also absorbing heat. When you happen to touch a glass which has hot milk, the milk is hot, also the glass or the cup, that also becomes hot or not. Means what? Along with the heat going to this cold body accepting the heat, this container is also accepting a certain amount of heat. But we want to minimize the heat absorbed by this container. So means what? Try to understand in this way. Probably I will be. So Normally what happens is that the hot body gives 500 joule of heat. The cold body accepts 450 joule and the container accepts 50 joule. So like this it goes. Cold body accepts 450 joule and the container accepts 50 joule. But 50 joule is a lot of heat. It's a lot of heat, and I don't want the container to be also accepting this 50 joule of heat. I want it something like this. I want it to accept only 5 joule, and this becomes, on the other hand, becomes how much? 495. So I want the cold water to accept 495 joule and the container to accept 5 joule. Okay, I want to minimize the loss, minimize the amount of heat which will be accepted by the container. I want to minimize that. Now, there must be a question, sir, can't we make this thing zero? No, it is not practically possible. Container will absorb certain amount of heat. We cannot make this as zero and totally 500. That is theoretically possible, but practically impossible. In theory, we say 500, 500. Okay, this is losing 500, but this is getting 500. But in practical, it happens like this is 500, this becomes 495. Because certain amount of heat will be lost to the surrounding. Okay, practically that's. But that is out of the question right now. We consider that. So we have to do what? We have to minimize the loss of heat by the container. And to do that, I should make sure, I should take care of one thing. What thing? The container should be made up of copper. Should be made up of copper. Why copper? Why copper? Because in the last video we have seen that 1 kg of copper for 1 degree rise of temperature accepts how much? 400 joule for 1 kg for 1 degree. And if we consider for 1 gram and 1 degree, this becomes how much? 0.4 joule. So copper happens to have a lowest specific heat capacity. Means what? Copper accepts the least heat. 0.4, very less. Copper will accept heat, but very less, very less. So the bulk amount or the massive amount is going to this cold water. The heat from the hot water is 99.9% going to the cold water, and 1% is getting absorbed by the container. When, if and only if the container is made up of copper. So we should make sure that the container is made up of copper. Why? Because copper accepts small heat or less heat for the rise of temperature. So there will be no or very minimum loss of heat to the surrounding. So this part you understood. So why copper? Because this question sometimes comes that what material does a calorimeter is made up of and why, or give reasons. So what material calorimeter is made up of? Copper. And why? Because copper has the lowest or have less or low specific heat capacity. It absorbs very less heat from the hot body. And I want that only. All the hot body should be going, heat from the hot body should be going to the cold body, not to the container. I think you all understood this part. Notes, I am giving you the notes. Please read the notes. Read the notes. You don't have to write the notes in any copy. Read the notes. In the notes, everything is written in the same order that I am teaching. So if you read the notes after watching my lecture, it will benefit for you. But one thing also, try to read my notes in your laptop. If you have a laptop, try to use that. Because in mobile, the whole thing doesn't come, it becomes very small. So if you have a laptop at home, try to download the notes in the PDF form in the laptop and go through the notes, read line by line. I'm telling you, after watching my video, if you read the notes, guarantee you will never forget this subject, calorimeter. Okay, so we understood this part. So calorimeter is made up of a material called as copper. And why copper? Because it has less or low specific heat capacity. Now, how this calorimeter looks like? Firstly, see, I'm drawing a little bit so you can understand. The calorimeter firstly is like this. This is the container and it is made up of copper. This thing is made up of copper. You understood? This thing is made up of copper. So means what? Over here we put the hot water or the cold water. What? If over here there is hot water, I put the cold water. If there is cold water, then I'll put the hot water. Okay, understanding? Agar cold hai to hot. If there is the hot water present, then we'll pour cold water. Now, after this, I will make sure that this copper never, this container is never, is like, no, I have to protect the container. Like in a thermos flask, I have to protect the thermos flask by a plastic covering or a wooden covering. So I must make sure that this container doesn't get broken quite easily. So after this, I will put a wooden, wooden kind of a covering. Wooden covering, so it protects the inner part. And after this, I will make sure there are some cork or covering like this. These are the coverings. Covering means cork, okay, to close it. That the heat, after the hot body has gone, I don't want the heat to come out. And I will leave some spaces. I will tell you why this space is available. So this is what? This is a wooden jacket. Wooden jacket. Why I have taken wooden? Because wood is a bad conductor of heat and it protects the inner covering. This is the copper. What is this thing? This is the copper vessel. Okay, copper vessel. Clear? Now, the next thing between, I will use a thermometer to measure the temperature, because there is a temperature also in this whole concept, that how much is the temperature of the hot body or how much is the temperature of the cold body. So I have to use a thermometer. So with this first hole, I'll put a thermometer. Okay, I'll put a thermometer. So what is this? Thermometer. From the second hole, I'll put what? I'll put a spoon or something like this spoon or a stirrer. What is this? Stirrer. Now what is this stirrer function? If a hot body and a cold body I put it, there are chances that the hot body is on the top and the cold body is at the bottom, because in class 9 we have learnt it. Hot body, less density, so it is a tendency to rise up, and the cold body, more density, it has a tendency to settle down. So with this stirrer, I can stir it nicely, properly. Okay, like you stir sugar in tea. So if you stir it, the hot and the cold body will be mixed properly, and I can get the experiment done accurately. So this is known as stirrer. So stirrer used to mix the hot and cold. Now, after this is the basic thing. Now this calorimeter happens to work in the same way as a thermos flask. If you remember in class 7, I have taught you, all of you or many of you, thermos flask. In thermos flask, if you remember, we have to prevent the loss of heat in the thermos flask, and that is done by 3 ways, because heat can escape by 3 ways. One is conduction, one is convection, one is radiation. So over here, whatever the hot and the cold body is kept, okay, in this region, it can escape. The heat can escape, but I must make sure that the heat never escapes. So to make sure that the heat never escapes, there are 3 ways that the heat can escape, and we know first is what? Conduction. So conduction means what? that the hot liquid, that is the hot liquid which is kept over here, the heat can escape from here to out, from this copper vessel to this wooden vessel outside. So what I do, I put certain wool. Wool is what? Wool is a bad conductor of heat. We know that wool is a bad conductor of heat. So the heat inside this container will be staying, it cannot go escape outside. So how to stop the flow of heat by conduction? By putting some wool between the outer surface and the inner surface. Between this inner surface and the outer surface, I put some wool to prevent the loss of heat by conduction. So wool prevents the loss of heat by conduction. Now let's talk about, next thing. There are possibilities that the heat can go up and escape. Heat can go up and escape. To prevent the loss of heat from going up and escaping, I use a what? I use wooden lids. I use wooden lids. So these are what? These are wooden lids. So wooden lids does what? Helps to prevent the transfer of heat by convection. Okay. And last thing, there is a possibility that the heat can escape by the last process, that is called as radiation. And to prevent the loss of heat by radiation, what we do, you have to remember in class 7 thermos what we have done to prevent the loss of heat by radiation. We have to silver the surface, because when the surfaces are silvered, then the heat goes and strikes back. Okay, so what I do, I happen to silver the inner surface. Okay, this is copper, but I happen to silver the inner surface. This is the inner surface. Okay, I will use different colors. This black color, I think you can see, or I can use a blue color. Silver the inner surface and also silver the outer surface. So I will silver the inner surface and silver the outer surface. Means there are two layers. So the inside layer, which is the copper vessel. So the copper vessel inner part, I will silver it, and this wooden vessel, can you see the wooden vessel? I have written wooden jacket. The outer part of the wooden jacket, I will also silver it. So silvering the inner and outer layer happens to stop the heat by the process of radiation. See? So by silvering this inner layer and the outer layer, inner layer of the inner surface and the outer layer of the outer surface. So outer surface means the wooden jacket. I will prevent the loss of heat by radiation. So if I happen to silver it, and there is a cold water stored, if heat tries to come, it will get reflected back. So you can see, if I happen to silver the outer surface, the heat gets to reflect back. And if I happen to silver the inner surface, okay, so heat tries to go, but it gets reflected back. So these are three ways I can reduce the loss of heat in a calorimeter. So I'm again repeating, what is a calorimeter? Calorimeter is a device which is used to measure the transfer of heat and how that is settled. So I taught you this is an inner vessel which is made up of copper. Why copper? Because it has a low specific heat capacity. Then the outer layer is made up by wooden jacket to protect the inner. And also between the outer and the inner, we have wool. These wools are to prevent the loss of heat by conduction. Then I put a wooden lid with few holes. The wooden lids are there to prevent the loss of heat by convection, because we know wood is a bad conductor of heat. So if heat is also going striking, and it will come back. And how to prevent the loss of heat by radiation? Just silver the inner surface and this outer surface. So heat, if it tries to come, it will get reflected, and over heat tries to escape, it will also get reflected. So silvering the inner and the outer layer, it will stop the transfer of heat by radiation. And I put two holes. In the first hole, I put a thermometer to measure the temperature of the final liquid, that is the hot and cold mixed together final liquid, and a stirrer is like a spoon where we stir the hot and the cold liquid get completely mixed. It's not that the hot is on the top and the cold is at the bottom, so I don't want that. So this is the making of calorimeter. This is the making of the calorimeter. I hope you understood what I happened to explain. Now, after this, we come to this part. We come to this part known as the principle of calorimeter. Principle of calorimeter. So according to the law of calorimetry, or according to the principle of calorimetry, see, if I am a hot body, consider if I am a hot body and I am giving heat, I am giving 500 joule of heat, and this is the cold body, and I will gain the 500 joule of heat. So the hot body loses heat and the cold body gains the exact amount of heat. So the principle of calorimeter states what? Heat lost by hot body is equal to heat gained by cold body. So this is the principle. This is the principle of calorimetry. So hot body जितना heat lose करेगा, cold body उतना ही heat gain करेगा. But in this principle, we have to assumption. What assumption? That during this process from hot to cold, I have no loss of heat. So no loss of heat to the surrounding. I have to make sure that there is no loss of heat to the surrounding. Then only heat lost by the hot body is equal to heat gained by the cold body. This will take place. Clear? Now, I have to repeat something from the lecture 1 and lecture 2. In lecture 1, did you remember? I have told you Q is equal to m dot C dot delta T. Heat absorbed by a body, it depends on the mass, it depends on the specific heat capacity, it depends on the specific heat capacity, and it depends upon the rise of or fall of temperature, that is the difference of temperature. And this same equation I have written in the second lecture, specific heat capacity, what is this C? Q by m delta T, I have written this. So transfer m and delta T this side now. So what you get? Q is equal to mc delta T. So you have to remember this formula using the principle that heat absorbed by a body or heat rejected by a body or heat lost by a body is equal to mc delta T. Mass, difference of temperature, and specific heat capacity, which depends upon the material. So material to material, the specific heat capacity varies. You have to remember this formula. So suppose I consider an example. Okay, suppose you have to consider this example. So I will make two charts. I think this much is not right. Hot body and cold body. I will make two charts. Hot body and cold body. Now, consider the mass of the hot body, means consider the mass of hot water. I am putting hot water. Consider that mass as m1. And for the cold body, consider the mass as m2. So, think of a situation where I have a hot water getting mixed with a cold milk. Hot water getting mixed with a cold milk. Okay. So this mass of the hot water is m1 kg and the mass of the cold milk is m2 kg. Okay. Now everybody, I told you, every material or every substance has its own specific heat capacity. So the hot body, if that is the hot water, the specific heat capacity, HSHC, specific heat capacity, consider this as C1. And for the cold body, specific heat capacity, that is the milk is different from water, so that will be having a different material, so that is specific heat capacity of the body is C2. Means what? If I take the unit C1 joule per kg per Kelvin, C2 joule per kg per Kelvin. Now the initial hot body temperature is considered as T1 and the cold body temperature we consider this as T2. So now you tell me which one is at a higher, T1 is greater than T2 or T2 is greater than T1? Think. T1 or T2, who is more? Because hot body is at a higher temperature, so T1 is greater than T2. This is the condition. This is a higher temperature. This is 50 degrees centigrade. This is 20 degrees centigrade. This is 50 and this is 20. So T1 greater than T2. Consider like this way. Now suppose I mix this hot and the cold body. If I mix the hot and the cold body together, then what will happen? The final temperature, like I'm telling you, think of this example, okay? Think of this example. During winter seasons, in the month of January or December, how do you take a shower or you take a bath? Because it's not possible to take a bath with normal water. It's very cold. It's chilling. And if you take, then so what we do? We take a cold water and we pour hot water. So cold water and hot water, when we mix the cold and the hot, we get to a temperature between the cold and the hot temperature, between the freezing cold temperature and between the extreme hot temperature, because neither we can put hot water on our body, that will burn our skin, neither we can put cold water on our body, that will give a chilling effect. So when we mix both of them, I get to a final temperature, and that is in between the lower and the upper. If this is 50 and this is 20, I get to somewhere at 35 degrees centigrade, which my body can tolerate that temperature. 20 degrees is very cold, 50 degrees too hot. So I get to a temperature when I both mix 35 degrees centigrade. That is the optimal or the final or the mixed temperature of the mixture. So over there, when the hot body and the cold body mixes, I consider my final temperature is equal to T. Final temperature of the body is T, and this T lies between T1 and T2. Means what? If I have to say T1 or T2 is the lowest, followed by T greater than T1. So see, this is 20 degrees centigrade, this is 35 degrees centigrade, this is 50 degrees centigrade. Understood? So we consider that the final temperature of the body is T, which is in between the maximum and the minimum. So the final temperature is T. So initially the hot body was at T1 and the final temperature is T. So what is the difference? What is the difference of temperature? Delta T, because I am most interested in delta T. I am putting delta T1. Is what difference between the higher and the lower? So higher corner, T1 higher, T is lower. So it will be how much? T1 minus T. Understood? Because formula is what? MC delta T. Q is equal to, we know Q is equal to MC delta T. So I am interested in finding the delta T value. Delta T is higher temperature minus lower temperature. So this is the final temperature of the mixture and this is the initial temperature. So initial is higher and final is lower. So T1 minus T. Coming to the cold body, initial temperature is T2, which is this, and the final temperature is equal to T. Final temperature is T, and what is, I have to find the value of delta T, because the formulas are in MC delta T. So that is what? Higher minus lower. Now you think which is higher, 20 or 35? I know 35 is higher and 20 is lower. So it will be 35 minus 20, or I will say T minus T2. So delta T is T minus T2. Understood this thing? So I got the required things. Okay. Now, according to the law of calorimetry, what is the according to the according to the principle of calorimetry? What is this? Heat lost by the hot body is equal to heat gained by the cold body. We know heat lost by the hot body is equal to heat gained by the cold body. So considering heat lost is Q1 and heat gained will be also actually Q1, but we'll take is Q2. Okay, let's focus. Okay, what is the heat lost by the hot body, which is equal to Q1? Now, what is the heat loss? We know formula of Q is equal to what? MC delta T. First lecture taught, second lecture also taught. So, heat loss is equal to MC delta T. So, what is the formula for Q1? M. M is what? Heat lost. So, M1 heat MC. C means what? Specific heat capacity C1 and delta T. Delta T means delta T1. Delta T1. Can I write this as M1 C1 delta T1 means what? T1 minus T. So I'll put T1 minus T. Clear? Now coming to heat gained. I know heat loss and heat gained are same, but I'll represent it by Q2. I'll represent it by Q2. Q1 is and Q2 are same. If Q1 is 50, Q2 is also 50. Don't think that you told Q1 that heat lost is equal to heat gain. So if you're taking Q1, you should also take Q1 over here, na? But I know Q1 and Q2, I should take Q1, but I'll take the Q2 because I have to show the with a different aspect. But Q1, if it is 50 joule, this is also 50 joule. Now considering what is Q2, Q2 is also formula same, MC delta T. Heat gained, heat absorbed by the body, MC delta T. Heat lost, MC delta T, same. So heat gained by the body is equal to how? MC delta T. So M is how much? M2. Specific capacity C2, and I will put what? Delta, I put in delta T2. So this becomes delta T2. Now if I put this value over here, it becomes what? M2 C2 delta T2. Delta T2 means what? Delta T2 is final minus, higher minus lower. So higher is what? I know this is a higher and this is a lower, because see, this is 20 degrees centigrade, this is 35. So final temperature, this is a cold body, na? So cold body temperature will increase. So this is the increased value, this is the initial value, which is lower. So that will be how much? T minus T2. So T minus T2. So this is the ultimate equation for the which you will use to solve sums. Remember these things. Remember, because after this lecture there will be one more lecture about the consequences of specific capacity, which will be very easy to understand. After that we will start with the numericals. We will start with the numericals, and over the numericals I will not repeat these things. I will just start with this formula that M1 C1 T1 minus T is equal to M2 C2 T minus T2. So over there I will just say open to lecture 3 and see this, how this relationship came. Over there, don't get confused that how these things are coming over there. So this is the final formula. Okay, understood?